Hello again, friends. Welcome back. I am Kristen, also known as Lil K, and this is Lil K Artistry. Welcome if you are new to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, and I hope you will subscribe if you haven't yet. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. I appreciate you, and I'm so glad to have you here. If you could drop a note in the comments to let me know from where in the world that you are watching if you haven't done so yet. It's very exciting for me to see all over the world and all over the country where you all are from and where you're watching from in the world. I am in central Maine. I live pretty close to Bangor, if you're familiar with Maine at all. If you're not familiar with Maine at all, it is pronounced Bangor and not Bangor. Some people mispronounce it, and that's okay. I always like to correct. It is pronounced Bangor. So it is early, well, maybe mid-fall here, and I am doing something very special today. This is a special request from a dear friend of mine, and I truly hope that he loves this. This is something that he wants for his new apartment. And I am delighted. I'm a little nervous anytime I am doing something specifically by request. And I know that it needs to be something very special. I always get a little nervous when I come here to paint just for myself. I'm, no problem. I'm not nervous at all, but I do have very high expectations of myself and my art, and I certainly don't want to disappoint, especially a friend. So I'm a little bit nervous for this one, but I'm also very, very excited. He has told me that he likes gray and white and blues. So I have a selection of gray, white. The white will be the clouds. This is going to be a cloud pour. The gray will be in the center, and the white obviously will be the clouds. And then I have a selection of 4 different blues, and I really hope that he likes this. So I am eager to get started. I'm going to walk you through everything that I'm doing. So this is a special piece. This is a commissioned piece for a friend, but I'm also going to be using it as a tutorial. So as we go, I will let you know everything that I am doing. The cloud mix that I will be using is my Lil K cloud mix, and I believe that was in 171, video 171. I may be wrong, and just check the information underneath this video to make sure that it is 171. I always get the numbers confused. If you like my spinner and you would like a 24-inch spinner like this that is quiet and smooth, I have been using this one for almost 2 years. This is the original one that I made 2 years ago. The tutorial for that is video number 89. And I know a bunch of you have made yours already, so very excited that you guys are using nice big spinners. Okay, I'm gonna get started. As ever, I always begin my cloud pours with a base of Flow Aid. And this is, I will show you, this is Liquitex Flow Aid. And you mix it just like it says on the bottle, oh my word. Like it says on the bottle, you guys. I think I need more coffee, or maybe less coffee. So it's 1 part Flow Aid to 20 parts water. And what this does is it allows the canvas to be slippery, and it stays slippery a little bit longer, not too long. It does dry eventually, obviously. But the point of this is so that we don't have to put down very much base coat. And again, as you've heard me say, if you've watched any of my videos recently, I do like to conserve as much as possible, especially the paints. They are not cheap. I work with Amsterdam, I work with Winsor & Newton, I work with Golden. So many of the paints that I use are on the higher end. They're professional grade, or I also use Nova paints. They are not cheap. They're not craft style paints, so they're not something that you would use for just a craft project. These are typically our student and professional grade paints that I'm using here, so the price point is a little bit higher, and I do that by design because I want my paintings to be archival. I want them to last, and I also want the paints to work together to give the results and the effect that I'm going for. And some of the lower end craft paints they just don't give me the effect that I'm going for. There's nothing wrong with them. Just for my style of painting, for my fluid art style, the Golden, the Amsterdam, the Winsor and Newton, the Nova, and some of the PBO actually, and I do use some Liquitex Basics as well. So I do like to conserve, and this allows me to do that because it makes the canvas nice and smooth. So when I do put down a little bit of the base coat, which I do use, it ends up being that I don't need nearly as much. So saving paint is good for the environment, and it's good for my wallet too. My goal is to make it so that very little paint comes off the canvas, and you can see the paint that's underneath here. That is dried, obviously, but that's the paint from the previous canvas. This is a 16-inch gallery wrapped, and you can tell because it's deep edge. The last one I did was also 16-inch gallery wrapped, and you can see how much paint came off. Very little. And that also was a cloud pour. I'll be showing that in a later video. So there's my Liquitex Flow Aid and water. And that, it's 1 part Flow Aid to 20 parts water, so it goes a long way. I mixed this up months ago and I'm still using it. Okay, now I want to put down a little bit of a base coat, not very much. So what I usually like to do, before I do that, I want to tell you, the colors, let me backtrack. This is a cloud pour. The cloud pour method of fluid art is the only method of fluid art that I use the US Floetrol as a pouring medium. I don't use US Floetrol in any of my other paintings. This one, I have not found a pouring medium that gives the desired effect, that makes it as thick and malleable and smooth as the US Floetrol, but I am experimenting with some. So all of the colors are mixed either 2 or 3 parts Floetrol to 1 part paint. And it just depends on how highly pigmented the paint is. This happens to be I believe it's Winsor Blue. So this is Winsor and Newton. Winsor and Newton paints are very highly pigmented. So I typically will use 2.5 to 3 parts of Floetrol to 1 part of paint. The paint goes longer. It goes further with the expensive paints because has more pigment in it. And some of the Liquitex Basics, I typically go 2 parts Floetrol to 1 part paint. And the only other thing I have here is I am using this little piggy, which are pigments, and I will explain to you how I mix those after I get the base on here. But all of these colors are mixed with US Floetrol, and then I do mix a little bit of water with them just to get it to the right pouring consistency. And some of you have asked that I measure, I think that's probably enough, that I measure the amount of water that I use. And it's really hard to do that, you guys, because humidity levels change, and the consistency of the paint, whether it's hot or cold, it all depends the day that you're mixing your paints. So it's never the same amount of water. So there isn't a fixed amount. And I know that's really frustrating, you guys. I am aware how frustrating it is because you just want a real simple recipe, right? And you want to follow it, and you want to be able to do the same thing every time, get the same results. However, when you're mixing your paints for this style of a painting, which is a cloud pour, depending on the day, the time of year, even how much humidity is in the air, you're going to add different amounts of water at different times. So you really need to know what you're looking for with regard to the amount of time that the trace in the cup takes to dissipate, which is why you'll hear artists say it's a 1 or 2 or 3 second trace. And I'll show you what that means when I get going. It's the amount of time that the paint takes to dissipate when you drizzle it off the stir stick. And I'll show you in just a minute. I am going to put a little extra paint around the outside of this pour once I get it poured, so I'm not too worried about this base color at all. See, I didn't use hardly any. There's still a bunch. I might have used maybe 3 tablespoons. That is my goal. Whereas usually, if I had not put down if I hadn't used the flow aid and water first, I would have probably used most of this little container just in the base. And I don't want to do that. And I think I just dropped something in the paint. Silly Kristen, stop doing that. Okay. And I just want to get, this is just a little kitchen torch, and the link for this is down below. The link for my stir sticks is down below. The link for the two, I think the link for the 2 items that I made my spinner, I think that's below. The link for my table is down below. These little cups with the nice lids on them, that link is down below too. Okay, so that is the base coat. Really simple, really easy. Not gonna worry about the sides yet. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start filling the cup. Oh, before I do the cup, I did want to show you. Here, real quick. When you get your pigments, like I said, I'm using 2 pigments today that are this little piggy. This one is meteorite, and it comes like this, and it's a dry pigment. First of all, make sure you have a good air purifier. I have one going. The link to my air purifier, if you want a really good one, is down below in the information. Always wear gloves, always wear a face mask. Make sure you're protecting yourself first, because these little pigment pieces are very small. Once you inhale them, if they get into your lungs, they don't come out. So make sure you are protecting yourself, number 1. Then, what I do when I'm working with any kind of a pigment, because I use black diamond, I use all kinds of pigments. I take my dry pigment and I moisten it in water. Just because this is a cloud pour, I'm gonna be diluting it with water anyway to thin it out. So I moisten the pigments, always moisten the pigments to a smooth consistency in water. And then to get them to act like a tube paint, I mix them with the Saks True Flow acrylic gel medium. This is really thick. So once I mix the water and pigment with this, now it looks like a gray, in this case, meteorite. It looks like a gray tube paint. Then I take that mixture and I go 1 part paint to 2 parts Floetrol. Okay, it's very simple. It seems convoluted and confusing, but the whole point of doing it that way is so that you can get a dry pigment suspended in a medium that you can then mix with the US Floetrol and water to get it the right consistency. So that's what I'm doing here. And this one also, this is Unicorn, which is TLP pigment as well. Okay, now that I've explained that, we have the base coat before it dries. I can be long-winded, I apologize. I'm gonna load up the cup. Now, my friend said he really likes gray, blue, and white. So I'm gonna start with a tiny bit of this meteorite in the middle, because that's what I want to be in the center of my painting. I'm starting with that first. Okay. So that's just a little bit in the bottom. That's meteorite. And that is probably the only place I'm going to have meteorite in this painting, in the very center. So the first one you put in ends up being in the center because it's the last one out of your cup. I probably won't put any more meteorite in this painting. I'm just going to do that a little bit. The next color that I'm using is Liquitex Basics, and this is a turquoise blue because my friend said he likes blue. Then on top of that, I always put my cloud mix on top of a tube paint and not on top of a pigment if I can avoid it. I just like the way it looks better. I think it just seems like it looks more cloudy and less watery. I'm gonna put a little bit of that base color in there. So I'm sandwiching the cloud between 2 blues. And then I'm putting, this is TLP, and that is Unicorn. Put a little bit of that in there. And then this is a tube paint. This is one of my favorite blues. This is Prussian blue. And that's Amsterdam's Prussian blue. And then a tiny bit more of my pretty cloudy mixture. More like that, okay. And then a little bit more of that base color, which was that beautiful Windsor blue. And then a little bit more of the turquoise blue. A little bit more of the unicorn. A little bit more of the Prussian. I'm going to end with the base color blue. So I'm going to take a little bit more of this base color blue. This is a 5-ounce cup, and this should be all I need. I may have to put a tiny bit more of that base color around the outside edge, but I'm not sure. Okay. Here we go, you guys. Look at that layered cut. Doesn't it look neat? Okay. Gonna hold my breath. I'm not gonna talk while I'm pouring. Well, let's hope this comes out good. Oh, I don't want to have to scrape this. Here we go. Oh my goodness. I'm so stressed with you guys. I was literally holding my breath. I don't know if you were too, but I was holding my breath. Oh, I hope you weren't holding your breath. Take a breath now. Okay, so that, you can see where the meteorite is. So it was the first one in, so it was the last one out. And I've never done a center where it's just like perfect like that, but oh my goodness, Steve is gonna love this. I hope. I mean, blue, gray, and white, right? So there we go. I always like to look at the cup afterwards. It looks so neat. Isn't that cool? This is so cool. So cool. Now this is where patience comes in. I don't tend to be a patient person, so I find this an opportunity to practice being patient. And in some of the videos where I don't talk, you'll see me going like this and like that. This is, I'm waiting for the time to pass because I'm not a patient person. I do want to wait a little bit more on this because I want to make sure that so the cloud mix, basically, the reason that it makes clouds is because the cloud mix is more matte. And the others have more of a shine to them. They're more glossy. So what happens, I think it's called hydrophobic. What happens is the matte paints push the glossier paints away. And so when a bubble or a bit of matte paint comes up through, like here, you can see there's a bubble there, there's a bubble there, and a bubble there. And if I pop the bubbles, everywhere a bubble pops, you see there's a little white spot that will turn into what we call a cloud. And the reason for that, it's not a chemical reaction. It's just the matte paint in the cloud is pushing away the glossy paint. It's sort of like when you put dishwashing liquid in oil. One pushes the others away. That's what's happening here. It's just pushing the glossier paints away, and it's making a really neat effect, which we call clouds. We being the artist community. I don't know what other people call it, but I'm just trying to get that center a little bit more centered. I don't want to distort this because I think this is going to be something beautiful when I start spinning it. I do want to put a little bit more of this base coat out here because I'm a little bit concerned that, because I use that small cup, this is a 16-inch canvas. I normally use these small cups on a 14-inch canvas. So I'm a tiny bit worried that I won't have enough for the corners, but we'll see. We shall see. Just gonna smooth this out a little bit. If this is a style of painting that you do, or that you would like to learn how to do, definitely drop a comment. You guys too, a number of you have been emailing me, which I think is delightful. Thank you so much for that. You can, if you have a question, you don't want to necessarily post it on a video, or if you have a painting that you have, that you want me to see, or that you have a question about. One of the gals that is a subscriber messaged me with a photo of one of the paintings that she had done, and she was asking why it was cracking, and I was able to kind of give her a little bit of direction for that. If you have questions like that, feel free, drop me an email. You can reach me at littlekartistry@gmail.com. That's my handle, as it were. Okay, I think that has had a good minute or two. So now what I'm going to do, this is what I usually do. I spin it a couple of times just to get an idea for the composition. I don't want to spin it fully yet. So I'm just going to spin it a few times and see what we get. Just to stretch it a little. Oh, this is pretty. The hard part about this, I think, is going to be letting it go. I'm really feeling a connection to this one already. Oh, this is going to be hard to give up, you guys. It is. I feel like I need to put a tiny bit more around the edge here. Let's just do like that. I just want this piece to be perfect. I know art isn't perfect, but this is for someone really special. Not that everyone isn't really special, but this person is special to me. And I just want to make sure that he is delighted and proud to hang this on his wall in his new house. Too much further, it looks like that is not a bubble. Got it. Okay, now I'm going to spin the other way a couple times. Oh wow. I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, guys, but I'm really liking how this is coming out. Okay, now this is another reason why I like these little pads on here, because I can just kind of scoot it to the edge if I want to pull it one direction. I want this one to go a little bit more off the edge here. And we'll do that one more time. Beautiful. Okay. And then I'm going to pull it back over here. Just pull it that way a little. Okay. Wow. I'm going to take a minute to just get this paint all along the sides. Just in case on some of the sides the cloud doesn't go all the way over, the composition doesn't go all the way over the edge. I want to make sure I do have some paint because the canvas is white. And don't worry guys too, if you're doing this and you get some spots where there isn't any paint, just make sure you save, obviously label all of your paints, and when you're done, like so this one, because I've got this bright blue on the outside edge, if I have parts that are still a little bit white, I can just go back with a brush and some of the Windsor blue and touch it up, and then it will be fine. Okay, let's spin this one more time and see what happens here. Get off the edges a little bit more. Oh, 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 oh. Wowie, wowie, wow. Oh, this is so, the various colors. I'm finding it interesting that I did not put any purple in this painting, but there's tiny bit, I think it's mixing with the meteorite, and oh, it's so pretty. Okay, let me take this corner off first. I'm gonna take this corner. Got it. Okay, I'm gonna take this corner off first because I think I don't want to tilt it. I definitely want to spin it. Okay, let's see. Oh, that's better. Okay. Now I'm going to take this one, and I'll take this corner off. What do you guys think of this so far? I am loving it. I hope Steve likes this. I really, if he doesn't, I'm going to keep it for myself. Because I'm really liking this. And the more I'm spinning it, the larger the clouds are getting. And wow, just wow. Okay, I'm going to go this way. And you'll notice I don't spin terribly fast. A number of you have asked me either in the comments on my videos, or you've emailed me that how am I able to keep the paint not flying all over the walls? And it's really, you can see it's only going out a couple of inches from the spinner. And how I do that is I don't spin crazy fast. You don't need to. If your paints are mixed correctly, you don't have to spin crazy fast, because they'll be thin enough that the paint will move. And the other part of this is it's not a race. You need to be really patient. Really patient and let the paint do what the paint is going to do. Like I said, I'm not a patient person. Let it take its time and develop. You really, the best thing to do is not to rush this. I don't know any artist that would tell you to rush art is a good thing. I personally don't. Okay, I need to just take a moment here because I'm talking and I'm not looking, and this is beautiful. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take this side off a little bit. Stretch this a little bit more. And always when I'm spinning, I'm keeping my eye on the corner that's moving. Because I don't want to overspin it. Now my dilemma and my question becomes, do I leave the corners that bright blue, or do I take a little bit of the Prussian and darken it up? I'm going to stretch this corner off a little bit and then see how I feel about it, because I really love the bright blue, but I also like that the dark, that Prussian is showing through in all of these creases here. And I think if it were darker out here, if these corners were darker, I think I would like that better. But let me just spin this wheel quick a few times, get a little bit more of that bright blue. I'm worried if I spin the whole thing more, I'm going to lose what's on the sides. in attempting to spin off the corners, I don't want to lose what's going on here on these sides, which are beautiful. So I think that's probably enough spinning, although this one over here is still, let me take this one off just a little bit again. Okay, I'm not doing any more to that. That is, wow. Guys, you're probably tired of hearing me say this, but this never gets old. Every single time, it does not fail. So that, the way you guys are seeing it, that's definitely the composition. I love it with the light down below and the gray at the top. I have to decide about the Prussian. I'm gonna try just on this corner and see how I feel about it. Yeah. See how it changes that? Yeah. That's... And then what I probably will do is spin just a tiny bit to get the extra of the Prussian off. Oh yeah, that was definitely the right thing to do. I think what was happening, for me anyway, is the bright blue, that Windsor blue, which is beautiful, and you can see it throughout the painting, it was too bright, and it was taking my attention off the center. And I think with the Prussian blue at the edges now, let's spin this just a tiny bit. With the Prussian blue at the edge, at the corners now, I think it's really, it has balanced it out. Yes, that is, I don't want to say perfect because nothing is perfect, but my daughter, who is going to be 27 soon, I can't believe it, she's going to be 27, she's also a very talented artist. She's a painter, she draws, she paints, she's working with colored pencils right now, doing a piece for her brother that's absolutely incredible. But she said something a long time ago that just stuck with me. She said, a piece of art is never completed, it's abandoned. And I really like how that feels when this piece is abandoned. I hope Steve likes this because, like I said, if he doesn't like it, I'm going to keep it for myself because this might be one of my favorite cloud pours I've ever done. I wasn't anticipating feeling like this about it. Okay, I'm going to come over there to the camera as I usually do, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see a little bit closer. I'll turn the overhead off. And really, guys, this is why I do this. First, I want to show you this bottom corner here because look at that. And the way the white just is glowing, my goodness. And I love that it's off center and those gigantic bouldery looking clouds. Look at those big ones there. Oh my goodness. Guys, this is so pretty. Look at the center. And then there's that beautiful meteorite, a TLP meteorite. And that upper corner up there. I'm really, really glad that I decided to go with the Prussian blue on the corners. And I think probably after it's dry, what I might do, so you can see on this corner here, I'll show you this corner. See how the Prussian blue and the Windsor blue are kind of making a weird design because I put the Prussian blue on top. What I probably will do when it's dry is I'll just go in with the Prussian blue and I'll just touch it up and I'll cover up there's some on this corner too, the bright Windsor blue that's peeking out, just to kind of clean it up a little bit. But I'm gonna say this piece is abandoned, you guys. I am so liking this. I hope Steve likes it too. Okay, I'm really excited to hear your comments. Please leave them down below. If you have questions, see, I'm looking at it this way and I like it this way too, you guys. So, okay, so I need to know your thoughts on this. If you leave a comment, please let me know. White clouds at the top or white clouds at the bottom? I originally thought I liked white clouds at the bottom, but don't you think it also looks good like that? I don't know. I can't decide. And actually, guys, where this is the meteorite, the gray meteorite, where you're seeing it from your angle, it looks like it's mostly blue, but when you tilt off angle a little bit, it's all gray again. That's what the pigments are so beautiful, because they change depending on the direction that you're looking at them from and the light. So beautiful. Okay, I'm eager to hear what you guys have to say about this one. Thank you so much for joining me again. I really appreciate your time. And again, I know your time is valuable, and once it's gone, you can't get it back. So thank you for spending a few minutes here at Little K Artistry with me today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. If you have questions, email me them at littlekartistry@gmail.com or drop them in the comments section under this video. This is Little K Artistry again, reminding you, go make the art.